be handing out some handouts. Hi everyone, my name is Ellie and today I'll be presenting and some of my friends on the topic of communicating at work. Alright, have you ever thought to yourself, how can I communicate this better and more efficiently to my boss or coworker? Or struggle to say something in a way that wouldn't cause any confusion or conflict? Well, today I will be persuading you that certain strategies are crucial and essential for effective communication to have success in the workplace. Poor communication has shown to hurt companies tremendously from mistakes occurring that cause conflict from not communicating effectively and efficiently. But you personally can avoid being part of the reason there are troubles that could have been easily prevented. So the main points we'll be covering today is defining how we will interact in the workplace, why you should communicate effectively at work, and how you can personally use certain strategies to communicate more effectively in the workplace and even in everyday life. First, before we understand why effective communication matters at work, we need to look at the type of communication we experience in the workplace. Communication in the workplace is the exchange of ideas and thoughts concerning work. There are many different types of communication in work, like interpersonal, which is when individuals treat each other as unique individuals, which can involve many people at a time, like interacting with a group of friends and that you are close with. A small group communicating is when a group is working closely together and they together create creative solutions. There's customer communicating, which is interactions with customers that you do in the workplace, where you also tailor your interactions in what and how you say things. And there's also digital communication, which could be through email, text, posting about anything. Yeah. Effective communication will ultimately boost success. Communicating effectively can benefit business in many ways. It helps employees' productivity, engagement, retention, and trust. Now that we know the different ways communication occurs in the workplace, let's look at why you should communicate effectively and why it's important. So why should you communicate effectively at work? Well, first, it improves productivity and collaboration. Having effective communication by being clear and to the point saves time that ultimately can add up through unclear communication. Plus, it also limits mistakes. Teams that have strong communication skills are more efficient. According to a study done by the McKinsey Institute about future remote work, stated that employees who feel included in the workplace communication are about 5 times more likely to report increased productivity. For example, a team not communicating through the majority of the project starting from the beginning are not communicating clearly and wasting even more time from doing that, which ultimately made them miss their deadline, versus a team who from the start communicated what needed to be done, by whom and by when. They cut to the chase and spoke clearly, which limited their mistakes. What was the main difference between these teams? Well, the answer is Team 2, communicating ahead of time of the expectations to help their overall productivity and collaboration. That is something that is really important to do. If you want to be productive and collaborate to help the success of your team, you need to be clear and not bottle things up, but to be open and honest. This saves time and frustration. Also, preventing conflicts and limits on misunderstandings is another thing. Miscommunicating is a huge root of the problem for when there's tension in the workplace. In the Gallup State of the Global Workplace report, employees that are disengaged cost the world a whopping $8.9 trillion in lost productivity, and most of that is caused from unclear communication. For example, your boss told you to write a report on something specific without giving clear directions on what they wanted, and you didn't ask clarifying questions. So that results in the report being incorrectly done, plus ultimately wasting time. If your boss had been clear and you asked questions, which is having effective communication, it would have helped you complete the report correctly and not waste time. If you are the one giving directions, be clear and concise, and if you are the one that has questions and is unsure, communicate earlier and listen actively to help reduce conflict and limit misunderstandings. And last, it also builds trust and professionalism. When communicating regularly, it helps build trust among your boss and with coworkers. If you communicate ahead of time before something even happens or do something, that is setting up the group and yourself for success. This makes people respect you and sets a good foundation in the workplace. In Gallup's report, it shows that having engaged workers reduces turnover by 51% in low turnover organizations. A stat says that 75% of employees around the world state that they trust their employers to do what is right, which has declined by 3% globally, which shows that having effective communication can help and impacts the trust. For example, a customer is asking for clarity and explaining concerns about something with the company. An employee responds disregarding them and not being transparent. This ultimately causes the company to lose their customers, and because there was no professionalism and clear and honest communication. If you want to be professional and trustworthy in the workplace, you must regularly communicate to show that you can be trusted through actions you do. Now that we know the benefits of communicating effectively, let's look at what strategies you can use to be trusted through actions you do. First is to be clear and concise. Being clear about your goal and use easy words to avoid incomplete sentences. Provide context when you communicate, like giving examples for expectations and clearly sharing who will be doing it by when. Also, listening actively. Being open and fully aware of what is being explained, not only from listening, but by asking clarifying questions. Also, it's important to show empathy by creating those personal relationships with people you work with and strengthening those relationships to reduce underlying tension. Also, there's adapting to your audience. In different times and people you're speaking with, you need to be aware of your tone and adapt to different situations and tailor how you communicate. Also, is giving constructive feedback. Not only giving feedback to others, but by them communicating to them, communicate more, but by being open and accepting criticism personally to make the changes. It's important to use these strategies because they will help the success of the workplace by creating cohesion and limiting mistakes and misunderstandings. These strategies won't only help you to improve communication in the workplace, but also in everyday life when you interact with anyone. Commit to these strategies to improve communication at work, and you will see the difference in your interactions. Here is a book that I thought I would give just for an extra help. It has a 12-day communication challenge, which can really push you, and it's on Amazon. A quote that I really liked that shows that it can take practice, but it's not something that you were born with, is communication is a skill that you can learn. It's like riding a bicycle or typing. If you're willing to work at it, you can rapidly improve the quality of every part of your life. Now that we have gone over what communication looks like at work, why it's important to communicate effectively, and what strategies you can personally use to improve your communication, let's wrap everything up. Thank you everyone for your time meeting with me and listening to my presentation about the importance of effective communication in the workplace. We went over 3 important main points. We looked at what communication at work is, why you would want to use it, and how you can personally use these strategies to help you. Beginning now, start practicing professional communication in your workplace. Make sure to be clear, listen actively, show empathy, adapt to your audience, and give constructive feedback. You will not only make communication better, but overall help with success for a healthier workplace. Thank you.